Hello, welcome to the round 3 preview as the Carlton Football Club are set to take on the Western Bulldogs. 7:40 p.m. this Friday night at Marvel Stadium. I'm very relieved to be doing this preview because I'm just ready to move on. I'm ready to look ahead. The lingering effects of Thursday stuck with me until about Monday, and then pretty quickly was ready to move on. Not forget, but move on. And so many conversations have been had this week since that game last week, and where I've set myself and settled on is that it wasn't as bad as what the initial reaction was. And the reason why I say that is because I think, the intensity and the commitment to the contest and these sorts of things, I think that was there for long enough. It's just the fundamentals, the basics, the execution, the skills. That's what ultimately was the difference last week. And that's where I sat with that game. And I think there was a compounding effect because of what happened in round 1 and, the embarrassment, the humiliation, and that's where it sits. So as it sits right now, 0-2, not the way you start a season. Nobody wants to be 0-2, but we are 0-2. And I've really felt the tension amongst the supporter base this week. There's a real tension of, these are the hallmarks of the tough parts of football and supporting the club. When it goes bad, it gets pretty bad. It gets pretty grim. You have rumors flying and supposed leaks and, conversations around disharmony and lack of identity and lack of commitment, and all of it may or may not be true. One thing that I know is definitely true in my mind is that a win on Friday night is just so sorely needed. Not as a band-aid to fix, to cover up the cracks. Every football club and every organization, every relationship just between two people has its challenges. So when you've got a relationship with a playing group, a coaching staff, an administration, 100,000 supporters, there are going to be challenges and flaws in all of it. And at some point, there's got to be a leveler, and there's got to be okay, what are we here to do? Play football. The joy of football has somewhat been lost in translation because there's pressure, there's game plans, there's expectations, and there's fire and tension and ego and all sorts of things happening within the club, no doubt. Not that I know for sure, but it's just, of course there is. There's so many challenges and layers to the story of what's going on. Lots of speculation, and sometimes that can just distract people from what is the most, the most fundamentally important part of what makes the Carlton Football Club what it is. It's the football. So I have a little bit of hope left. Interesting conversations throughout the week. I almost felt in a really small minority, almost felt some backlash coming towards me with this, which is fine, by the way, because we're not always going to agree, but I felt this backlash because I still have a bit of hope. I'm not ready to just give up and blow the joint up after 2 rounds. Richmond was disgusting. Hawthorn was poor, but, I just think it's round 2. There are 21 more weeks left, and I'm not looking to make excuses at all. I just, it's not 0-6, 0-7. Maybe if it gets to there, then okay, ring the alarm bells, push the button. I just think it's too early in the season. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I've been wrong before, and I will be wrong again. So I just have a little bit more hope that things can change because I think the tools are there. I just think that whatever is going on, we all know that team that we watch right now is not fully in sync with what to do with each other, etc. And that happens. It happens from time to time. So I have a bit of hope that it can be rectified this is not the first time the club and the team and the supporters find ourselves in a hole, so to speak. And this is just part of the next challenge of the group. So I still have hope that a win this week can get some momentum going and get some synergy back. But the intensity has to be, like, they found the standard last week of the intensity. That cannot dip anymore. We cannot, I don't think the team can afford to have a dip in that intensity. Honestly, for the rest of the year, like, that is the standard of intensity. So I'm not going to over praise the effort, because that's your job. And whatever you're feeling, don't care. You have a job to do. Not just the players, everyone. Everyone has a job to do. I think sometimes we get caught up with, I don't even feel like doing this, or, you make choices. You make choices sometimes on how you're feeling, or you make choices based on your discipline. And so I'm just hoping that I'm going to see a fully committed team this Friday. And if it's not good enough for a win, it's not good enough for a win. But I'm mindful of letting the game get to me too much on a personal level. And I'm happy to be here, a part of the community. But I mean, like, it's getting to that point almost where, like, why would I care so much to my own detriment when, seemingly things aren't being cared for as much on the field and within the club. So that's kind of where I think maybe it's the beginning of me starting to distance myself and play it a little safe and protect myself, so to speak. But it's a game of football, and the team's got to get the job done on Friday, and it's as simple as that. Harry Mackay was a late out last week. Illness was what we were told. It was reaffirmed at training. I went to training yesterday. He's just sick. He didn't train yesterday. I don't know if he's going to play. I hope he'll play. Something tells me that he wasn't just sick. And I don't know. And this is where that uncomfortable part is starting to creep in, because I don't believe anything. I have a default position of that's not the full truth. If Harry was sick last week and he was fair enough. Hope he plays this week. We need him. We need the best of Harry Mackay. So I'm going to assume that it's not a bad sickness. They would have maybe told us by now, and he'll be ready to play Friday night. If he's not, I don't know, man. I don't know. So there's that. Charlie, clearly a guy that did not have a full preseason, and that's what it looked like last week. And the reason why I'm singling out Charlie and Harry is because really these are the guys that are leaders. These are the leaders of the forward line. We need them to be anything close to our best version of ourselves. Charlie, you'd think he plays. I would think he plays. If he played last week, I think he'll play this week. I think, and as I said last week, I was mindful of expectations on Charlie. How he played last week, I wasn't completely shocked. If anything, I thought he definitely shouldn't have played. He definitely wasn't right. But hopefully he'll be better for the run. So those are important factors. And then there's this other conversation around, the reserves and who's pushing for selection. Well, the positive, touch wood, so far is that 2 games in a row, no injuries to come out of those games. Harry was a late out last week, but didn't get injured in game. So that's a tick, combined with a few guys coming back to availability this week over the last couple of weeks. Corey Durden, and I'm not suggesting that any of the guys that are now available this week will come straight into the ones, but I do think it's an important part of the story of the depth. So from what I saw in the VFL last week, I would only be bringing in Jordan Boyd, if I'm honest. I don't think Binzi is playing at a level where I say personally, like, he has to play in the ones. Same with Moya, although I understand Moya might be one of those guys that you just put him in the ones and he's just better for it. He's got a little something about him, but he's also got that, that Jack Martin trait where it's patchy. So whatever they decide to do there will be what it will be. I don't think there will be too many changes. I think Harry and Jordan Boyd would come in for maybe Lewis Young and whoever it's going to be. So I'm not expecting drastic changes from the side. And then I'll also just leave that to the coaches. They will make that decision. The Dogs are not to be underestimated. They have injuries, like serious injuries. I mean, they're missing their captain, Bontempelli, Treloar, who's had another setback with the calves. So they've got their own issues as well. So it's a classic case of it's not the who, it's the how. And who's going to be which of the teams are going to be able to figure it out. So the coaching box battle will be a clear talking point this week, win or lose. I can't believe it's at round 3, and I'm feeling that like we really desperately need a win just to not steady the ship. I don't think the ship is steadied by a win this week, but I do think just a sigh of relief and just to remember what it's like to breathe a sigh of happiness and to have something pleasant go through, because the hardest thing is to build momentum when you don't have it. Clearly Carlton does not have momentum right now, and with no momentum, the confidence drops and these things happen. But I just think a win and a win only is the recipe for Friday night. And that's the reality of the world we live in this competition. It is not about anything else other than winning. It's a win-loss industry, and that's the way it should be. Yes, there is a process that has to take place in order to be consistently winning. But Friday night, everyone knows it. So is there pressure? Yep. Deal with it. If you cannot deal with it, you cannot be at this club. If the nature of the Carlton Football Club is just too much and there's too many angles and too much noise, you cannot be here. This place is not for you, and you should not play. You should not work there. You should not be there. Deal with it. This is what it is. Leadership right now is needed more than anything. So who's going to step up? We'll find out. That's how I'm feeling about Friday. There is an excitement. In a weird way, I am confident that the Blues will win. I think I'm more so just fearful of another bad loss. But I am confident that they'll just get to work and get the job done. I don't think they're as bad of a team as what they are playing like. And that's why I'm mindful and a bit concerned about like what's going on. Because, I mean, we did the rating show. If you haven't watched the rating show from round 2, watch it. Some of the performances were so below where these guys usually are. So there's room for improvement with a lot of them. And yeah, man, I just don't want to be talking about external reviews and sackings in the first month of the season. But if that's the reality, then that's the reality. So we'll see. Where's your head at for Friday night? What are you thinking? What are your plans? What are you going to do this week? And how do you think it's going to play out? And what are some of your thoughts around the themes and issues that are popping up this week? Chat to you in the comments. See you throughout the week. And I'll see you at Marvel Stadium Friday night. Go Blues.